Chicken butt.
That just totally fucked me up. That's amazing. With one deft utterance of the word chicken butt. This has been completely derailed.
Wow. You didn't know the power you had, Annette.
On the ADHD show, she manages to...
All right.
Okay. Oh, I'm going to get myself under control
All right.
real fast.
Let's start that again.
Okay.
Okay.
It's okay. Oh, the
You
quick
snorted.
choke is what did it for me the next time. It's just like, breathe out all the steam.
That's so funny.
Maybe I should show up high one time and see what happens.
Oh, I'm usually high on these. At least a little bit.
I
know. Yeah.
You're funny. I
Yeah.
know.
Just a little high.
Mhm.
Do you
Like
ever
Cowley?
forget how many times you've
What?
taken a drag and then you accidentally get really high?
I have done that.
That's my marijuana toxic trait.
when you're smoking with other people and you're talking and you're not realizing how long you've been smoking, and then you're like, whoa.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh no, I do that by myself.
Oh.
I don't have to smoke it.
That too. Okay.
Terrible.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's do this.
Anyway. Yeah.
3,
Okay.
2, 1.
Hello and welcome to Basel Tov, the courage and creativity of ADHD. I'm Jen.
I'm Ellen.
And I'm Annette.
And we are here to discuss something that we probably should have discussed in the first place, but we've kind of delayed on this. It's ADHD subtypes. Yay! So
excited.
We had so exciting. We had explained just kind of in passing early on in I think it was our very first episode, that all three of us have a different ADHD subtype. And that's why we all experience things slightly differently. So there are certain people who've been listening to us wondering, why is it that I don't relate to Jen very well? Why is it that I relate to Ellen super well, but not Jen or Annette? Well, it's because we're all slightly different. So our ADHD symptoms are presenting on different ends of a spectrum, if you will. So we're going to be talking about what constitutes each ADHD subtype, who is corresponding with which of these, and then what experiences we have that can kind of illustrate this, or like, how does this make us feel in everyday life, so that people can, be aware of how it might actually play out in real time.
Yeah, this might help people who are like, I feel like I have ADHD, but I don't really know exactly what type. Maybe this will be helpful with helping someone narrow it down a little bit if they can relate to our experiences.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, so stay tuned.
So yeah, party time. So, Annette, I know you've got a ton of information about ADHD. There's 3 main subtypes, which are the inattentive and impulsive, the inattentive type, the combined type, and then the hyperactive and impulsive type. Correct?
Yes.
I barely got that out.
Yeah. And so as if you think of ADHD as an umbrella, all 3 of these different subsects fall under the one umbrella. And so there are a lot of symptoms that run throughout all of them, and a lot of it is you experience it differently, but ADHD in and of itself is a subsect of different, brain abnormalities or different brain chemical things that, so it makes ADHD, it's its own diagnosis, but there's different ways to experience it. And so with the inattentive type, I'm going to read what the National Institute of Mental Health says about these three. There's three ways to kind of pull apart and separate ADHD, and that's inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity. And so you can be inattentive and still be very impulsive.
Yeah.
That's
because I am
a thing. Yeah, that's a thing. Yes. And you can be hyperactive and not be impulsive. So there's these three different subsects. And inattention means a person may have difficulty staying on task, sustaining focus, and staying organized. And these problems are not due to defiance or lack of comprehension. Hyperactivity means a person may seem to move about constantly, including in situations when it is not appropriate, or excessively fidgets, taps, or talks. In adults, hyperactivity may mean extreme restlessness or talking too much. Impulsivity. Impulsivity means a person may act without thinking or have difficulty with self-control. Impulsivity could also include a desire for immediate rewards or the inability to delay gratification. An impulsive person may interrupt others or make important decisions without considering long-term consequences.
Oh, I feel so called out.
Yeah. So there's these three kind of main groups under ADHD and how you relate to each one. And so each of us have a different subsect. As much as I can relate to some of the what do you want to say? I have to speak two languages every day. I always forget words.
That's fine. I speak one language and I do that.
Yeah, so you're doing okay.
Features.
Inattentive?
There we go. Yeah.
Oh, features.
Features. Okay. So as much as I can identify with some of the features of the inattentive type, I tend to present mainly as hyperactive with impulsivity. And Ellen, on the other hand, she tends to relate more with the impulsivity, and she's inattentive.
Mhm.
And Jen is just a combination of fuck all. So
A little bit of everything.
I'm a fuck stew.
Yeah, yep, fuck stew. She's a spicy one.
Totally.
Yeah, so I guess because you're a combination type, Jen, you're gonna go last because you kind of have both sides.
Yeah.
So we'll go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and list the main symptoms of people who have inattentive ADHD. And Ellen, you can tell us how you relate.
All right,
to these,
I will try to focus.
So very quickly, I'm going to run over this very quickly. Okay, so 1, overlook and miss details and make seemingly careless mistakes in schoolwork, at work, or during other activities.
Mm-hmm.
2, have difficulty sustaining attention during play or tasks such as conversations, lectures, or lengthy readings like this one. I'm so sorry. Number 3, not seem to listen when spoken to directly. Number 4, find it hard to follow through on instructions or finish schoolwork, chores, or duties in the workplace, or may start tasks but lose focus and get easily sidetracked. Next, have difficulty organizing tasks and activities, doing tasks in sequence, keeping materials and belongings in order, managing time, and meeting deadlines. Next, avoid tasks. I'm not saying this is you, but I'm looking at you. Avoid tasks that require sustained mental effort, such as homework, or for teens and older adults, preparing reports, completing forms, or reviewing lengthy papers.
Ugh, barf.
Next. Lose things necessary for tasks or activities, such as school supplies, pencils, books, tools, wallets, keys, paperwork, eyeglasses, and cell phones. I'm still not looking at you, man. And
wow.
2 more. Be easily distracted by unrelated thoughts or stimuli.
Yes.
And last,
squirrel.
Be forgetful in daily activities such as chores, errands, returning calls, and keeping appointments.
Yes. Yes to all of that.
So tell us how that list fits into your daily experience.
My God. What was number 1 again?
Overlook or miss details and make seemingly
Yeah.
careless mistakes.
So I will say, yeah, absolutely. Unless it's something that I'm really into, I'm gonna miss details. You know, like my hobby is baking and like cake decorating, cookie decorating. I don't even recognize myself sometimes when I'm doing this because I turn into this total OCD perfectionist, like must get everything right, you know, like that is not me in the rest of my life. If there's something boring, I'm gonna miss details on it for sure. Especially if it's
How about
something
sustaining attention?
yeah. No, again, if it's something boring, I'm gone. My brain is elsewhere. Yeah.
Not seem to listen listen when spoken to.
Yeah. Not seem to listen or not listen, because it's usually both.
Not seem to listen. Oh, it's both.
It depends. You know, I really have I like that rule that you've made with your kids. You know, they got to make sure you're looking at them when they're asking you a question, or else you might not be fully listening to what they're saying. That's definitely me. If I'm not focused on if someone just says something and I don't realize they're talking to me, I'm probably not even going to hear it.
Yeah, and when we were just talking before we started, I was going to say this, and I was like, "God, we'll just start." But like, I do that ADHD thing. I want to know if you do too, both of you. But I do that ADHD thing where like somebody asks me a question, and I say what, but I heard the question. It's just my brain is still processing.
Yes. Yeah, I've definitely done that.
Yeah.
Like as soon as you say what, you're like, oh no, wait, I know what they said. Or as soon as they start saying it again, you're like, yeah. I heard you. Yeah. No.
Yeah, and then you interrupt and answer their question, and they're like, "What the fuck, dude? Like, if you heard what I said, then what are you doing?" And I do it all the time.
Yeah. That happens to me sometimes.
What the people in my house have gotten used to hearing is, I'm sorry, your English wasn't English, or something like that, because like the words will, like all the sounds that people make that are English will suddenly not parse in my brain, where like I'll hear what they say, like I hear them making sounds, but my brain is not turning them into words anymore. So I'll be like, blah, 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 and I'm just like, fascinating. Can you please repeat that?
Yeah.
Like, so
it just doesn't, our brain doesn't, it's like it hears it, but it doesn't process it right away. Yeah. It takes a second.
Yeah. I feel like that has something to do with, you know, the hierarchy of what's going on in your brain, and your brain is doing something else or not doing something else. And so you just kind of, you're caught off guard, and, you know, it's like when somebody calls your name and you're like turning around and fall, or like,
yeah.
Because you're not expecting it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So for anybody listening that might be a spouse or a partner or a friend of somebody who has ADHD, but you don't have it yourself, maybe like call their name and wait a second.
Yeah.
Okay, what's next on the list?
Okay, so next is find it hard to follow through on instructions or finish chores, duties.
Yes, following through is rough for me sometimes. And instructions, especially if they were given to me verbally, I'm not going to remember them. I'm just this is one thing I have, like, you know, I'm old enough and I've seen this pattern enough in my life that I need things written down for me. If I will not remember what someone tells me. So that's just a boundary now that I know. But yeah, I will.
Yeah.
So unless I have a checklist of exactly what I'm supposed to do, I will definitely like forget instructions or skip things or do them in the wrong order.
I can't relate to that at all. Uh, next, avoid tasks that require sustained mental effort.
God, I mean, I avoid tasks that require no effort, cleaning a cat box. I mean, that doesn't require any brain cells. But yes, if there's
Oh
something,
boy.
God, especially if there's something that requires mental effort, like, what are some adulting tasks? Getting your taxes done or polishing up a resume, shit is like, you're going to have to put some thought into this. Yeah, it's hard to do those. I think maybe a tip for that is just break it into smaller pieces if you can, or just get it started, even if you don't finish it.
Or hire somebody to sit next to you and do it.
Or that, yeah. Don't do your own taxes. Just go to an accountant.
Right.
That's what I have
Pay
to do.
me to write your resume. I'll do
There
it.
you go. Yeah. Delegate if you can.
Okay. Have difficulty organizing tasks and activities.
Oh, yeah.
Doing things in sequence.
How do you know what to prioritize? How do you know that? I mean, does it just come naturally to people? Because, if you've got a big to-do list, where do you start? How do you know? It's difficult. And then you just have task paralysis and you can't do any of it.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, prioritizing.
Ah.
I don't have that tool, I mean, unless there's something obviously that is urgent and needs to be done. I'm not going to be like, oh, I should pull my weeds before I take my kid to urgent care. But, some things are obviously priorities. But like, if you just have a bunch of shit you need to get done, I don't know, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean,
yeah.
I feel that. Lose things necessary for tasks and activities, such as everything you own.
That's another thing I've just learned about myself, and so I'm pretty, my keys stay in the exact same spot in my purse, but one thing I do lose constantly is my phone. That's something you'll just hear me say. That's probably the phrase I utter the most in my house. Where's my phone? Always setting it down.
That's why you got to get an Apple Watch that has the you push the button and it bings your phone.
Oh yeah, I just have the Amazon Echo, and so I just tell it to call me. But then if it's on silent, then I can't hear it. And
but see, that's why the Apple Watch bings it even if it's silent.
I know.
See, Jen is little bit shaking her head because she has an Apple
I know
Watch
you guys are you got me wanting one now.
Yeah.
You can see your doorbell on them, and you can yeah.
Hey Apple, this is a
yeah. If you want to, if you want to send Ellen an Apple Watch,
Ellen will review it.
I will. Okay, what was next on the list?
Be easily distracted by unrelated thoughts and stimuli.
You mean like just now?
Oh my God. Man. Yeah, all day. I mean, I am the dog from Up, Squirrel. That's me. You could be telling me something so important, and it's like if some intrusive thought enters my brain or something catches my eye, I'm toast.
Yeah. I mean,
so you're always just kind of fighting that, like that's the ADHD tax, I think, is that we've got this mental load. We know that about ourselves, when we're in a conversation with someone and it's maybe a rough conversation or it's just boring and you're trying to, you're going to be tired later, from having to slog through it. It's rough on your brain.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, last one. Be forgetful in daily activities such as chores, errands, returning calls, and keeping appointments.
Oh God, yes. If I don't put a reminder on my phone, it won't get done. Like this even happened to me today. This morning I was like, I'm definitely going to remember to get cat food at the store after I take the kids home from soccer. Nope. Completely forgot. Yeah, I got home and I was just like, what the fuck, me? Like, You were just thinking about that. Yeah, I'm just constantly, my brain is constantly sabotaging me. It doesn't matter how important something is. Like, it doesn't discriminate. It will forget important information. And so now that I know that enough that I have to have reminders. Yep.
Well, I mean, and it's good to know that about
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay, so that was the inattentive type. Now I'm going to read the hyperactivity and impulsivity type. And as you heard, I can relate to some of what Ellen's saying, but after I talk about this, I want to talk about why you can relate to both, but the mental processes are different. Okay.
Yeah.
So number one is fidget and squirm while seated. I'm shaking my leg right now as we've been going through this whole thing. Leave their seats in situations when staying seated is expected, such as in the classroom or the office. This is why I work at a kindergarten and I work with kids, so I don't have to sit down. Run, dash around, or climb at inappropriate times, or in teens and adults often feel restless. Again, why I work with kids, because I have to be moving.
You can climb. You can climb
me
at inappropriate times anytime you want. Now that you're an adult,
I know.
Yeah.
I can climb a tree, and I'm like, I'm just teaching them how to climb a tree. I grabbed a piece of grass and started making a whistle at one of my school events, and I was teaching all the kids how to like make grass whistles. And it's not it's not inappropriate because I'm the teacher. Now, it might be inappropriate if I was like one of the parents who was there like watching the event or the activities. So but being the teacher, I got the power.
Grass whistles. That's a good life lesson to learn, or life skill. Yeah.
Duck call. Be unable to play or engage in hobbies quietly. I think my mom will tell you that me being quiet means I'm asleep.
That's the only way.
When I was a kid. Yeah, that's my daughters too. They just don't shut up, like unless they have an iPad in front of their face, or no, pretty much they're asleep in the iPad or they're dead. Those are the only times that my children will be quiet. And I feel the same. I was the same.
Oh, I mean, I remember when you were like, how old were we when we met? 12, maybe 13. Yeah. You were very, very chatty. Like you're always just been naturally chatty, but I love that about you because you've got really interesting things to say.
Oh, thank you. That's coming up on this
list. But yes, I can totally, I can see it. I can see it, how it manifested when you were a teenager, basically. Yeah.
So next one is be constantly in motion or on the go, or act as if driven by a motor. Anybody who knows me knows that that's a thing. So
she likes to move it.
Oh, I can't not be doing something. Ellen and Jen are always like, "What are you doing?" Because I'm always doing something. Like,
meanwhile, my leg falls asleep
because
I'm just in the same position for too long. Yeah.
I think that's in fact why we got along as well, because you'd be like, let's go do this thing. And I'd be like, yeah, let's go do that thing. Like,
impulsivity.
Hard. And so next is talk excessively.
Oh, I thought you already said that one. Or what?
No, I said that was coming up.
Oh. What was the other one?
Attention to details. Ellen.
I'm like, we were just talking about that though. You're right. Okay. I will focus now.
Next, answer questions before they're fully asked, finish other people's sentences, or speak without waiting for a turn in conversation.
Your brain moves so fast. I mean,
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so that's probably why you do it, right? You're like,
well, either like I did that ADHD thing and you already asked me the question, I said, huh? And then you're telling me again, but I'm like, I already heard you. And so I'm answering, or I know what you're going to say, or I relate to something and I hijack the conversation. One of the above. why I'm a really good English teacher, because I can ask so many questions and tell funny stories. And so there's never a quiet moment in my classroom. There's no awkward like silence or anything.
You're so perfect for that job.
Yeah. I like my job. I
Excellent.
love my job.
Honestly.
Okay. And then have difficulty waiting one's turn. If you don't know, Disneyland is the worst place in the world
for you,
because you pay a bunch of money to fucking stand in line.
I know, there's so much standing
for hours.
Oh yeah.
So it's Disneyland is literally
hurry up and wait,
the place of my nightmares.
Yep.
So, and then last one, interrupt or intrude on others, for example, in conversations, games, or activities. And I do that. So,
but you, I feel like you know that about yourself by now. You know, like you're so self-aware that I don't feel like you do that as often as maybe you used to. I don't know. Yeah.
When I was younger, I definitely have much more of a problem with it, but I'm aware that I do it, and so I have to kind of like, shut up.
So that's what comes with what comes with age is self-awareness and wisdom.
And being able to, because I teach English, I have to wait for them to respond.
Yeah.
And sometimes they take forever. And so it's taught me patience.
Yeah.
You know, so I've learned to stop and listen. You know, so it's not as bad as it used to. But like, I am constantly being accused of being a motor mouth. So, and I feel like, you know how, I mean, I'm sitting here, I've been wiggling my foot the whole time we've been talking. I can't not be moving while I'm sitting. I prefer to be standing. I prefer to be doing something else. I feel like my day goes faster. I feel like everything's fine. But I tend to talk quickly, and I tend to stumble over my words a lot because my brain is moving this fast and my body and my mouth are just not keeping up. So, sometimes when you hear me kind of not making coherent thoughts on the podcast, a lot of times that's because my mouth is trying to catch up to where my brain was.
That totally makes sense.
So, but yeah. And so the reason I want to like kind of separate these two is because I feel like how you would, even though I forget shit all the time and I forget my appointments all the time, but mine is from a different process. I forget things because there's so much happening in my brain that I'm just like, well, this, and then this, and I get distracted by something else to do. And then I have to be like, oh, wait, but I got to come back here. And so I'm still forgetting things, but it's a different process. For the inattentive type, it's like airhead.
Oh, yeah. It's just not even there. It's not even floating around. Like in yours, you have all these little things like bing, 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 like little thoughts pinging around in your brain. And mine's just,
I'm a hamster on a wheel.
Yeah. So at least that thought of whatever you need to remember comes across every now and then. Yeah. Mine gone.
Yeah. And I don't have a problem like working on a task. I don't have a problem getting myself to do it if I can remember it.
Yeah.
So once I remember it, I'm like, oh shit, I got to do that. And then I do it.
So you feel like your executive function is not like too big of an issue for you usually?
No, it's for me, it's not so much executive function. It's prioritizing what I need to do and remembering. So recently, I think I mentioned this last week too, but like on my computer, I have a to-do list open in the corner of my computer and I never shut it. Yeah.
Because that's just a constant reminder.
Yeah. So I see it and I'm like, oh yeah, I got to do this. And so I keep adding and taking away as I get things done. But for me, it's not a process of getting myself to do something. It's more of a difficulty getting around to it.
Because you're busy.
When I need to.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like even if I wasn't busy, I'd be busy. Because I can't not be busy.
With something.
Yeah. But I do have a problem prioritizing like what is really important and what's not.
Right. Because like I was saying, how do you do that?
I don't know.
We're fucked.
Yeah, usually it's when there's a deadline over my head or something that's like kind of forcing me to hyper focus and get it done. And then there's like external motivation
Yeah.
in the form of people.
Yes.
It's just whichever one hits you
Yeah.
first. Yeah.
Yeah, basically, because it's like, oh shit, I forgot to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to do that for this week and I didn't do it. And then I'm like frantically trying to get everything done. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how people go about actually prioritizing
Help
what's
us.
important and what's not. Yeah, somebody who knows how to should
Please.
help us
Yeah.
because this is like the blind leading the blind,
Basically.
I just
And I've read,
decide what's crucial. Like if I know that I have to, like if I know that dinner's coming up and like there's a sink full of dishes and I have 3 other things to do, I'm probably going to do the dishes first and then do other stuff while I'm doing that.
Oh, that's good. Like think
Or like
think
while the
ahead
dishes are
about like
running.
just think about what the rest of your day entails. And so what do you need to get done in order to achieve the next thing later? Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
see, but I
Either that
can't
or
process
like
that.
what's a
Yeah.
long process that like let's say washing and drying laundry and like laundry machines, because you put it in there, you really only spend like 30 seconds putting your laundry in there, right? So you then run it for, I don't know, like 45 minutes and you can do something else while that's running.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just have to go back to it.
I feel like that's part of your inattentive brain that's saying that because my hyperactive brain can't stop long enough to even process that.
I don't even know.
That
Maybe it
makes
is.
sense to me to think about if there's any tasks that just need to get started and then they will finish on their own eventually, like throwing the clothes in the wash. Yeah. Just do it now and then do something else.
I'm also the only person on the podcast who's medicated, though.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't forget that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
That does help you.
Yeah, so
that
tell
might
us
be the
about
medication.
tell us about your combined type life
Oh
experience,
yeah,
because we haven't gotten to you yet.
Jesus
what's the
Christ.
list for that? Do we
Oh boy. Well, the entire list would be what my early life looked like. So all of those things that Ellen struggles with, plus all of those things that Annette struggles with. So instead of having, 9 of one or 9 of the other, I have 18.
You are so blessed.
I have so blessed. Yes, it's lovely. So when I was a kid, I just remember and also a teenager, I remember feeling like I was getting blamed for stuff a lot that wasn't my fault or that I didn't do because I couldn't like slow down to realize what I had actually done in the first place to get people upset with me. I didn't realize that other kids didn't like to talk to me because I interrupted them all the time. I didn't realize that, some kids were actually kind of afraid of me because I was so impulsive. I'd just like jump off of things and run all around, and I was so busy and loud. Um, didn't think things through all of the time, but from falling down and just kind of falling on your ass so many times with social situations or with something that's important like big homework deadlines, I started to like manufacture these like little rules for myself or like little things that I'll do to cope with it. Like I wasn't diagnosed with ADHD or medicated until I was halfway through my 30s. I think it's only been like 4 or 5 years that I've been on medication. So for that time, I had to function as an adult in the world despite having 18 different stumbling blocks to contend with every single day. So, um, like one of my rules for myself was always I put the thing in the same place every time, every single time. I always put the same thing in the same place every single time. I would always travel to work the same way every single day, unless there was a detour or something like that, because it's predictable. I know that it will take me 15 minutes to get there if I go this one way. It always does. So that's how I plan how much time I have to get ready. Or like if my keys are always in a dish right next to the door, I will never fucking lose them because they're always right there every single fucking time. Like, but getting to the point where I could do it every single time took years of me forgetting and putting them in a bag, years of me forgetting and leaving them, on top of a bed that got covered with laundry. And then I'm sifting through a whole pile of laundry to find a house key or something like that. So yeah, like, so it took me a minute. It really did. Homework, whatever I was interested in, perfect, because I'd hyper focus and get it all done really fast, super fast. So I'd do all the things that I liked first so that I could have time to do the stuff that I didn't like, most of the time. So like, and also probably because of the delayed gratification thing, because like, why would you leave the shit that you like most to last? That's stupid. You would never do that if you can't delay gratification. So, yeah, I mean, I just kind of, I guess, learned little hacks and workarounds, but it was really difficult because for a lot of my life, I felt like I was blamed for things, that people didn't understand me, that I was having a lot of misunderstandings in communication. People were mean to me and I couldn't figure out why. It was really confusing. A lot of stuff seemed really abrupt. I couldn't figure out why I was always the different one in literally every social situation. So, that's just kind of how it was.
It's so nice.
I don't know. I kind of feel that way too.
Yeah. It's so nice to be able to have an explanation for why we're like this, for why we didn't. And
doesn't make it easier.
No, it doesn't make it any easier, but at least we can take the morality element out of it. It's like, you're not lazy. You have ADHD. And, like I was telling you guys that, that post I saw on Reddit about somebody was saying, my boyfriend thinks I use my ADHD as a crutch. I loved the top comment that was like, ADHD is the missing leg. Like, we need a crutch here, we are struggling.
We need crutches.
Yeah, there's a legitimate like problem, I mean, it's so give yourself a lot of grace. And but I think a lot of us grew up with people calling us lazy or calling us just negative. Airhead. Yeah, too chatty, whatever. Yeah, you're and that stuff sticks with you. Ugh.
Yeah.
So just
it makes you doubt who you are. It really does. Like, am I capable of doing that? People call me an airhead all the time, or a space cadet, or a basket case. Like, what am I going to be capable of doing these things? Can I really run my life? Can I control my own destiny? Like, it just doesn't seem like it until you start really picking apart what you're dealing with and then dealing with each and everything one at a time.
Yeah, personal story. When I was a kid, because my brain moves faster than my mouth and vice versa, because I just, they're just not connected. And it was pretty bad when I was a kid. And so when I was a kid, I'd find myself saying really stupid things all the time that like once my brain caught up, it was like, oh, but then I had already said it. And so like, so my dad always called me airhead. My grandpa always called me airhead. Everybody called me airhead. And so, and I had a complex about that because, everybody thought my sister was so smart. And so like, I for a long time, it was like, even for reading in first grade, like my teacher was like, well, Annette, you got to read. And I was like, well, why? I'm stupid. Like, I don't have to do that. And then once she was like, okay, you really have to read. I was like, fine. And I read like right away. Like I could read fine. I just didn't want to.
Yeah.
But like, even now as an adult, I still struggle with feeling like I I'm not smart, or I don't live up to my scholastic aptitude,
Imposter
or,
syndrome a little bit, maybe.
I have full on imposter syndrome. I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
Like in my in singing, in teaching, and everything, I'm like, I don't know why I'm here. Like,
I think
it's really hard to see all the things that you've accomplished and how you got there, but like, I don't know. I have it pretty bad, and so I also have RSD, like rejection sensitivity dysphoria. I also have that really bad, and so I panic over any little interactions that I have to have with people. And I wish I could just like shut my brain up, because it would make living my life so much easier.
I think it's just so important to know yourself. Get to know yourself and really, see those patterns in your life over the years. And I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but just I feel like we need to give ourselves grace for our, quote, flaws, whatever, our ADHD traits that show up. We need to give ourselves a lot of grace for that, but we also need to, like, be resilient and overcome those and find ways to have a really successful, healthy life, whatever we want, and not just like succumb to those and be like, well, that's the way I am, like it's.
But when the most fucked up things about ADHD, let me get into this. One of the most fucked up things about ADHD is when you are a perfectionist, because that kind of does come with the territory for ADHDers, some of us. You're a perfectionist, so you have to do everything right, but your brain won't let you.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
It's just like, I can't relate to this.
Explain more. Yeah.
Because you have an idea in your head that everything has to be done perfectly, that you should be perfect, that like this should be done perfectly.
Okay.
But the way that your brain chemistry has you set up, it fundamentally sets you up for failure every single time.
I see what you're saying. Okay, so yeah, I'm thankful that my brain gives me a lot of grace for, like, let's say clutter. I don't really notice a lot of clutter in my house or other people's houses. It doesn't bother me. And so I'm not sitting there thinking, oh God, my house has to be perfect. I have to get it done, but my brain won't let me do it because executive function. I'm just like, I'm cool, So that's not really good either.
Yeah, see,
but yeah.
I do the
I
opposite.
see what you're saying.
I don't see the mess.
That is fucked up.
I don't see the clutter. Yeah, I don't see the clutter, and I don't see the mess. I don't see it when I'm doing other things.
Yeah.
It just doesn't exist. It's like I have tunnel vision.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I notice it, it's like, and then,
Yeah.
Yeah, I can relate to that too. With me, the way this plays out is like, like story writing, a lot of writers will compare their writing to like the stuff that they'd written before, which is logical because, you're learning, you are trying to compete with your own skills, basically. It's not, you're just like, okay, well, I wrote this 3 years ago, and oh, this thing that I wrote this week is so much better. Look at how much more advanced that is. But someone like me, who has, the perfectionist tendencies, will instead compare their writing to something that like a literary master had written. So like,
oh no.
So instead I'll be like, oh, okay, well, since I'm writing a fantasy story, why don't I compare my writing to, I don't know, J.R.R. Tolkien?
Oh yeah, easy.
So I go in thinking, oh, see, my writing sucks because it's not like this guy who did this really, really great thing.
You hold yourself to a really high standard is what you're saying, basically.
Super, super fucking high standard. Yeah, that's like unachievable, especially on your first draft. You expect you absolutely irrationally expect the first draft to come out sounding and looking like fucking Tolkien wrote it, and then you're,
and it's a giant steaming pile of shit.
Absolute shit. Yeah, like you can't even paint it gold. You still have to deal with the smell. Like it just like it's awful. Like first drafts are awful. No matter how advanced you get, your first draft is always going to be a dumpster fire compared to the completed product. So, you know, you should be comparing yourself to yourself. Huh?
I mean, if you're
delusional,
you could just be delusional, like, you know, the American Idol contestants that get on and like can't sing for shit, but they're like, I'm the greatest singer ever. I mean,
oh, I've run into some of those. They're entertaining, but also they're highly explosive. So, but yeah, it seems like that does happen in the writing world where somebody will be like, I am the greatest. And usually you can tell them from a mile away because they'll make Facebook posts that, you know, you can just, it's like you're reading it and you imagine a Victorian era voice in your head while you're reading it. And that's how you know it's one of those people.
You know, it's funny. I saw something on the ADHD women subreddit. Somebody was sharing this story about how they kind of hyperfixate on hobbies and get really into them, and then they start to like think of themselves as like they think they're gonna be the greatest. Like they started writing songs, and in their head they're like, oh, this is gonna be the greatest song ever. Like they get so amped up and think it's. I thought that was really interesting. I wonder if that's an ADHD thing where you get these really high, just high expectations of yourself, high standards and high expectations sometimes. If you're hyper focusing on something, like it's gonna be the best. It's gonna be perfect. I don't know.
Oh, this is why I don't do any of my own studio work, because I hate everything I do. I hear every little thing and I will delete it all and burn it for the bullshit that it is.
Too critical.
I don't like it. I don't self-promote on Facebook or social media. I'm not good at it. I don't like it. I'm supposed to, because I guess I'm a singer, and that's
you do have imposter syndrome, yo.
But like I don't like it. I hate advertising or promoting myself.
Same.
It's like the bane of my existence. Like it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. It's like if I could hire somebody else to do it, I'd be like, go for it. You do all this. But it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It feels so raunchy to do it.
It feels icky.
Yeah, it's just it has all the ick.
Yeah.
So.
It does. I struggle to do stuff like that too. And I wonder, like, it's funny because if you think about the qualities that we're dealing with that make us ADHD, we all have very vibrant personalities. And like, we could probably like super perfectly promote ourselves if we hadn't lived through decades of people telling us we were too loud, too flamboyant, too emotional, too this, too that, to the other, you know, whatever. You know, sticking all the labels on us, and so now it bothers us. And I wonder if that's also where our perfectionism comes from years of, I should have gotten the right answer, except I forgot this one crucial detail. God damn it, I'm so stupid. I gotta. And so like, you know, the correct answer or the right way to do it seems like an unattainable goal because you keep missing tiny details. So then you just learn to have a super high expectation of yourself to combat the fact that you will miss a detail if you don't have that. So I kind of wonder.
I'm not sure if I totally followed that, but yes, totally.
Yeah,
my brain is just different.
That's okay.
Real moment.
Real moment.
Tuned out halfway. I tuned out halfway through that too. I have no idea.
Shit. Over talking again.
It wasn't that. It was my brain. I was having trouble conceptualizing what you were saying.
And I was like, I heard we've spent all this time people telling us we're this, and then I started like imagining this ad campaign with somebody with tape over their mouth with all the things that they said about it, like people like all over their body, and them just like flipping off the camera.
That's creative.
Yeah. So
I like it.
That's true though.
Sorry, I like.
No, that's true. People tell you. Tell you who you are, and then you can either choose to make that part of your identity or tell them to fuck off. So you decide.
I wish I could have told people to fuck off a long time ago, because I
Yeah.
feel like I would just be like in a more mentally stable
yeah.
place.
It wasn't until honestly the past few years, and I turned 40 last year. Like it wasn't until the past few years that I really started to like trust myself and trust my voice, my internal voice, how I feel about myself. It's always before that, I've always
Yeah.
relied on what other people have told me who I am, and it's like that's fucked
I
up.
feel like that's the trap of youth,
It
though.
is.
Like,
And growing up
you
in a
don't know
church
who
doesn't
you
help
are.
either, but yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like
No.
I fully applaud young people who know who they are. They
Mhm.
like do it they do what they feel like they should be doing. And it's like, because I just listened to what everybody said all the time.
Yeah.
And I grew up with like lots of I didn't think I was a good person at all. I mean,
Mm.
nobody in the church would accept me fully, because I was too noisy, or I was too showy, or I was this, that. Like, I didn't get to sing at church. I'm a singer. They didn't let me be on the worship team at church because I was just too big of a personality, I guess. But like, there
Wow.
was,
I don't
yeah,
remember that, but I believe it. Yeah.
yeah, like
I remember
Arlen,
it like
the
in the little
pastor
church
of the
that I was
church.
in there.
Yeah, the pastor of the church and the worship leader both said I couldn't, because my dad was like, "Well, Annette sings and you need a singer,
And your
so
dad
why
was
don't
on
you
the
put her
fucking
on
worship
there?" And
team.
yeah,
So,
so my dad said, yeah, my dad said, and they said she's not she hasn't grown up enough yet,
oh my
and they just kept making excuses
God.
like that.
You
So
know what? If we're too much for some
Hmm.
people, then they're just too small. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like
things
that's
that
what
it's
I've been
easier to
saying for
say
a
when you're
really long
I
time.
40.
know it is. It is. When we were 16, 17, we're just like, okay, I guess that's how it is. I mean, sometimes you don't really have
Yeah, so
you
it's
don't really
I
have
think
as
I was
much
the one out of
agency either. What'd you say, Jen?
yeah.
I'm pretty sure I was the one out of 3 of us who went to school every day with both middle fingers up in the air like, "Fuck you, and fuck you, and fuck you, and fuck all of you." Like,
Yeah.
there were some days when, like, I was just so mean to certain people who would be mean to others who were either like me or other people around me because, they had some kind of disadvantage, or maybe
Mhm.
they didn't have wealthy parents or whatever it was. And I used to rip those people a new asshole
Nice.
or just make them feel like
You bullied
shit
the
on
bullies.
the daily. Just, yeah, like it got to the point where I was like, I actually had to have kind of a heart to heart with myself in adulthood, because I realized I had fallen into the trap of bullying all
Yeah.
the bullies.
That is the trap
And
that yeah, when you get in when you choose to
yeah,
follow that like negativity and hate and you get sucked into it as well. It's a trap.
Yeah.
yeah, you can totally get sucked into it. And it seems so seductive, like,
Yeah.
look, I'm doing the right thing for other people,
Vigilante
but are you?
justice.
Or are you? Or are you just, blowing off steam in a way that you find socially acceptable? Have you just found a loophole?
Yeah.
So,
And then those
yeah.
people will grow
So,
up and become adults that just gossip about other people and criticize other people all the time and
Yeah.
avoid those people. They are
yeah.
toxic.
Yeah. And,
Yep.
for the
Yep.
young people who are listening, and, it's hard to get to a place to be okay with yourself, and living with ADHD is really hard, and being able to accept yourself, accept your failures, accept your successes,
Yeah.
that's not easy. And as we have become older, we are getting more comfortable in ourselves and who we are, but that's really difficult for young people to do.
So
So just
hard.
like, don't feel disheartened that you're not there yet.
God, I mean, I remember being in my
Yeah.
20s and just feeling like ugh, you feel so insecure and you're always thinking about what other people
Mhm.
think. You care so much about other people's opinions when you're young. And it's
Yep.
just so nice to be old and not give a fuck anymore. I love it.
Yep.
Such
Yep.
bliss.
It definitely
It's
gives you some
great.
Yeah, well, I mean, I still give a fuck, but
I mean, I do too, but I don't let other people's opinions about my life really impact my decisions anymore. I've learned to, I feel like I know myself well enough now that I can trust myself. And that took a long time, a lot of therapy and soul searching and whatever. But
Yeah.
I'm getting there.
Yeah. I feel like I selectively give a fuck. Like, strategically, like if I know that I have to give a fuck about something like, let's say, resume, I have to give a fuck about what the people on the other end of that are going to think. It's required.
Yeah.
So, I give a fuck about that because it's important to my life and it will impact the quality of my life. But, if somebody on the way into a job interview says, "Oh, your pants are a half inch too short," be like, "Well, fuck you." Like, who the hell asked you anyway? Maybe I like them like that. Like,
Just let it roll off.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So
Yep.
my attitude is kind of variable and highly dependent on the circumstance.
And I have tried to not get upset at myself when my ADHD strikes and I forget something, like I forgot to get the cat food. It's so easy to get into that, like, God, I'm so stupid. I always forget. It's easy to get into that mentally and beat yourself up. But I feel like I've gotten to a place where I'm like, that's all right. That's just your ADHD, We're
Yes.
okay.
such a nice place.
Perfect.
Yeah. Like,
that's the goal.
I mean, obviously, if I screw something up that needs to be fixed immediately, I will. It's but yeah. I think it's good to just have grace for yourself. Like think about
I think that's a really
what
good
would you
point.
say to your best friend if they made a mistake? Someone you love. Talk to yourself like you would talk to someone you really care about. Be nice to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
That sounds nice.
Yeah.
So if you're out there listening and you're going, "Oh, well, I can pretty easily identify which one of the two like the two main groupings of ADHD I am," yay, congratulations. You probably don't have 18 stumbling blocks to deal with. But if you waited until the end and you're like, "You know what? I think I relate a little too much to everything," and then you heard what I had to say and you related to that pretty well. Well, I'm sorry. You just got 18 stumbling blocks to deal with. So, no matter how many stumbling blocks you have to deal with, you'll find that, even somebody with 18 stumbling blocks can perform better in their everyday life than people with 0 stumbling blocks. It just is so a matter of
resilience.
How
Resilience.
Exactly. People with ADHD are forced to be a certain amount resilient just to get through their everyday lives. So we do have a little bit of a leg up in that department. We can force the resilience where we have to, and it might take some time and learning, but we can do it.
Yep.
If you're in a position where you're, really distraught about the effects of what you're seeing on your everyday life and you don't think that you can just manage it by yourself, I highly recommend visiting a therapist or some kind of person who can help you diagnose the issue if you don't have it diagnosed yet, or who can talk about medication options if you don't have medication accessible to you. And so some people will go to like, like a social worker. It really depends on your area, also in the country that you live in, because a lot of this will vary by country. And by state as well, because certain states will allow certain types of practitioners to prescribe in one state and not in another. So you'll have to learn the rules and learn who you have to go to. But once you find that person, don't be embarrassed about it. It's just something that you have to do to get your life under control and feel like you have more control over what's going on. So is there any last words that you guys want to add to this today?
I guess I would say if you are the hyperactive type, you feel like you are a human battery. That's not a bad thing. Use it as your superpower.
Oh, that's good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And with Ellen's inattentive personality, she's really good about giving herself extra grace, where me and Annette would fail miserably at that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying all inattentive people are like that, but I think that's kind of the lazy part of our brain, you know. It's like, I don't know if it's what it is. Apathy, who knows? There's so much going on in there. But yeah. We're just I think that at least for, yeah, personally speaking, my brain's just a little quieter, so yeah.
Yeah. And after growing up the way that I did with, all those hurdles and not understanding situations, I found at this point in my life that I actually perform really well. And, in many cases, better than neurotypical people simply because I've had to put so much more focus on things like details and time management and success tools. And so
Mm-hmm.
I've got all this stuff to help out where some people don't. And I know how to use my tools and my personal rules for myself so that I can navigate hard
And you can
situations.
relate to people. You can relate
So
to anyone with ADHD. You know, you
yeah, I really
yeah,
can because
you feel it all.
when I do, I very deeply feel it all. It is like and I can relate to pretty much anybody who has it, but maybe not everybody who has ADHD can relate to me because I have both. So, um, fun math as applied to ADHD or whatever,
Mhm.
the transitive property or something doesn't apply. Um, the
Funny.
transitive butt property or something. Um,
Ooh.
but anyway, so yeah, visit a counselor or a therapist if you need one, or a psychiatrist if you need medication. And yeah, good luck because it's a journey. And on the other end of it is like definitely a brighter spot. So just know that as you're going through, because sometimes it's frustrating.
Yeah. Get to
Um,
know yourself.
but anyway, yeah, everybody out there, thank you so much for listening again. We love having you here, just, being a part of our evening. So,
Thanks.
Basil Tov to you
Puzzle
all.
Tov.
Basil
What
Tov.